It's my great pleasure to welcome you. So Fiona Sinker is coordinator at the Industrial Deep Decarbonization Initiative, the IDDI. And Fiona, the floor is yours, and we look forward to your presentation on work related to steel and cement under the IDDI. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just checking that that you can hear me okay?
Yes, I think, at least from my side, you're perfectly audible.
Okay, wonderful. Well, if I could ask you to move to the next slide, please. So I know that I just jumped in sort of towards the latter half of Andrew's presentation. So I'm not sure how much the IDDI has come up already, but I figured I'd give you an overview first of all as to where we are. The IDDI is a large coalition of governments that are working with the private sector, with academia, with civil society, and trade associations to create an enabling environment for the deep decarbonization of industry, and we focus on steel and cement. So really, when we say that we're trying to create an enabling environment for deep decarbonization, what we are looking at is effectively two key gaps in the market. One is around creating a demand signal. So there we look to leverage public procurement commitments to create early markets for low emissions products, starting with steel and cement, of course. And then on the other hand, the carbon accounting and greenhouse gas emissions measurement methodologies that exist. How are we collecting the data that we need in order to make informed decisions? How are we making sure that that data is transparent and is consistent? And then, of course, as Andrew, I think, touched upon in his previous presentation as well, is how are we defining what is actually low or near zero emissions product? And so we are looking at these challenges via 3 working groups that we established in 2022 that bring together over 70 initiatives and organizations in addition to the governments that are our members. So if we move to the next slide, please. So I don't think I need to explain to you why we need industrial decarbonization, but I wanted to include this slide just to make clear the sort of urgency of the situation, which is around that sort of second little icon that you see on the slide, which is that over the next 40 years, the world is expected to build the equivalent of another New York City every month. And so the volumes of steel and cement that are going to be demanded over the next decades are huge, and we need to make sure that we can that we are not creating any sort of emissions lock-in in production here, and that we are using the lowest carbon products possible. Moving to the next slide, please. So talking about carbon emissions accounting, one of the key things that we have looked at over the past year is product category rules. And product category rules are what constitute the rule book effectively for what is reported in an environmental product declaration that can be associated with the carbon footprint of a steel or cement product, and of course many other products. So really we see carbon accounting or emissions accounting standards, data collection as the foundation for allowing companies to be able to differentiate their products and to be able to capture that green premium. However, there are a lot of challenges that are associated with the current greenhouse gas accounting system. One of those is that the methodologies that exist right now are inconsistent. And so that means that we have different data outputs for the same product. When we use different methodologies, what that means is that we cannot compare products apples to apples, and that means that there is less trust in the system, and again, it impairs the ability of producers to be able to capture that green premium. Secondly, there are a number of gaps in the current emissions measurement methodologies, and so that means that a number of key accounting questions are not currently addressed when we think about questions like how to account for carbon capture, utilization, and storage in these methodologies, many emerging technologies like these are not yet reflected in the methodologies that exist. And third of all, in various geographies, there's limited uptake of these methodologies. And that means that we need to work to ensure that environmental product declarations and of course product category rules as well are being used across the world, so that as measurement and reporting and verification becomes more widespread across the globe, we're all using the same systems, because of course we have global supply chains and we need to make sure that our data is speaking to one another. So next slide, please. So to address some of these questions, we developed two products recently. One is one that Andrew mentioned in his previous presentation, which is a white paper, which sets out the role of standards and positioning of the greenhouse gas accounting questions in the landscape. So we identified a number of key issues that are driving the variance in the different standards that exist and have proposed steps towards harmonization. We've identified a set of key principles through which we can look at these issues. And those principles can be used for steel and cement, but they could also potentially be used for other products as well. And really, this is trying to put forward an overarching vision for how we can adjudicate some of these issues. And then we've complemented that white paper with some more detailed technical guidance that is going through product category rules, really sort of category by category, to produce criteria level recommendations for modifications to the current ISO and EN product category rules. To the next slide, please. So going forward, there are still many issues that we haven't been able to address. Those are issues that we're looking to delve deeper into in the coming months, and we're looking to develop a number of briefing notes, particularly around chain of custody issues, around CCUS and allocation by COP29 and the Clean Energy Ministerial, which is happening in October as well. And then looking towards next year, we will actually be updating our product category rule harmonization guidance. In addition to that, of course, we are looking into the issue of definitions and how we can really put forward definitions for steel and cement for the purposes of public procurement that are suitable for all countries around the world. Moving to the next slide, please. So the other aspect of our work, which is of course linked, is around green public procurement. And so at the IDDI, we advocate for governments to use their purchasing power to create demand for low and near zero emissions products. Because of course, when governments commit to buying these products, it sends that crucial signal to the market that demand for these products is rising, and governments constitute some of the largest buyers in these sectors. Next slide, please. So in order to harness that demand, we created a green public procurement pledge. That pledge has 4 official levels and a level 0, which is effectively the entry level, that range from disclosure commitments, so where governments commit to requiring the disclosure of embodied carbon in cement, concrete and steel procured for public construction projects, and that is via an environmental product declaration. So this is the link to our previous work, where we are asking governments to commit to requiring environmental product declarations for their public construction projects, meaning that they collect that data and they're able to effectively understand and measure what they are procuring, with the goal of course, reducing that footprint in the long run. And then those commitments move all the way to committing to conducting whole project lifecycle assessments for all public construction projects. And then levels 3 and 4 are around actual procurement commitments, where we are asking governments to commit to procuring low and near zero emissions steel, cement, and concrete for their public construction projects. In the development of the pledge, we realized that many governments are not there yet, right? So they are not yet able to make commitments under level 1, level 2, level 3, or level 4. And really what they first need is to develop a roadmap to work towards key aspects of this pledge. They don't really know where to start yet. And so we introduced a level 0 last year, which is the statement of intent, in which governments can indicate their intent to work with us on creating a roadmap on how they will work towards key aspects of the Green Public Procurement Pledge. And so at the moment, we have 7 governments that have made commitments under this pledge in one level or another. We have Canada, Germany, the UK, and the US, which have made commitments to the public procurement pledge itself, and the governments of Japan, UAE, and the federal government of Austria that have committed to the statement of intent. So next slide, please. So this is covering what I've already said in terms of the commitments that some of our governments have made already. But importantly, we've also established an effective international community of practice. So we've part of this journey is bringing governments together to host discussions around what the issues are around putting sort of these commitments in place, to making these policy changes, and how we can support additional governments in bringing together and bringing commitments to the table. How we are moving forward is that we are looking to develop standard procurement language and guidance for additional governments that would like to make such commitments. And that first guidance will be looking at level 1, so that disclosure requirement for embodied carbon, i.e. asking for EPDs. So I think that's my last slide. If we move to the next one. Yes, so thank you very much, and happy to answer any questions.
Well, it's for us to thank you, Fiona, and apologies, I mispronounced your name before. So your correct name is